Fellow Americans, how proud it makes me to be able to say those words. There is no better place on earth. We now have the nightmare of Chairman Mao's cultural revolution right here in America, taking over the media, schools, corporate America, silencing dissent, crushing conservative thought. What we need now is real structural change in government and in the economy.
We don't wait around for the government to do things. We organize, we stand up, we do things for ourselves, we act. That is the American way.
All right, everybody, how are you doing? So this is my first time at AmFest. I have to tell you, I feel very at home here. It's got to be the greatest event in America. Congratulations. I feel like it's part of my family. Look, in a second, I'm going to talk to you about California and how we save California. But there's something very serious I want to say first, if I may. We are witnessing the unfolding of the most enormous political scandal in American history, as we are seeing the revelations this week of the scale of the cover-up of Joe Biden's incapacity, his mental and physical incapacity. Many of us have been talking about this for years, from day one. We learned this week that Joe Biden, from the beginning of his presidency, required a script to have one-to-one meetings with members of his cabinet, including the Secretary of Defense. Now, before we moved here 12 years ago with my family, I worked in 10 Downing Street, senior advisor to a conservative prime minister. The idea that the leader of a country would require a script to have a one-to-one meeting with his cabinet colleagues is unfathomable. It is unacceptable. We must not accept it. We must demand and insist upon a full investigation and accountability for every single person who enabled this, who lied about it, who covered it up, starting with Kamala Harris. And speaking of Kamala Harris, have you heard she's telling people that she doesn't want her last act in public life to be certifying Donald Trump's election victory. I don't know, it sounds pretty good to me. And she's hinting that she may want to run for governor of California in 2026. So, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about that. I say bring it on and let's beat her again. By the way, anyone here from California? Oh, look at that. What do we think about the current guy? What do we think of Gavin Newsom? So look, here's my theory. Here's the problem with Gavin Newsom. It's very simple. Too much hair. Too much hair. What about maybe for next time we get someone with less hair? A lot less hair. But honestly, to everyone here from California and beyond, you know, here's something perhaps unexpected. I bring you good news from California. Glad tidings from the Golden State. Look what just happened in our elections in California. Donald Trump got more votes in California than any Republican presidential candidate in history. In San Francisco, Donald Trump got a higher share of the vote than any Republican presidential candidate for 3 decades. Across the state, Californians voted for our ideas. Proposition 36, we voted to make crime illegal again. But it wasn't just crime. On tax, the left tried to introduce a ballot initiative to raise taxes. It was defeated. To raise the minimum wage, it was defeated. To impose rent control, defeated. In Oakland, collapsing into crime and squalor, the far-left district attorney, gone. The mayor of San Francisco, gone. In Los Angeles, the poster child for the far left, George Soros-backed lunacy on crime, George Gascon, gone. So many of you may have seen me on Fox News with the show I used to host, The Next Revolution. I'm telling you, the next revolution will be the California Revolution, and it is on. Now, speaking of revolutions, Nearly 70 years ago, there was a revolution in a small country in Eastern Europe called Hungary. The people there stood up against a brutal communist regime, bravely stood up. And the Soviet Union sent in its tanks and crushed it. And many Hungarians, tens of thousands, left the country in search of freedom, including my parents. And so I had the great privilege, while the rest of my family was trapped behind the Iron Curtain, of being born and raised in a country, the UK, where freedom flourished. But now, when we moved here in 2012 with my family, I feel that my journey towards freedom is finally complete. The home of freedom here in America. And I just have a little picture I'd like to show you. If we can put up this photo of the proudest day, one of the proudest days of my life. There you are. Can you see that? That was the day that I became an American. But do you notice something about that photo? The bloody mask. The masks. And so that photo is a permanent reminder that we must permanently fight for freedom. And there's another thing I want to tell you about that. I was right there in that fight. Some of you may have seen right in the early days of the pandemic, fighting against the nonsense, against the lockdowns, before anyone else on Fox, before most people anywhere. And guess who was with me that first night when I said, this has got to go. These authoritarian lockdowns, all these COVID rules got to go. Guess who was with me on my show that night? Charlie Kirk. Exactly. Charlie Kirk stood with me then, and I have been incredibly proud to stand with Charlie ever since. What an amazing American hero to have built this organization, and all of you for supporting him. Thank you so very much. And so I just want to say, what else inspires me about Charlie? The fact that he's built this. And he doesn't just talk about things that are wrong. He gets out there and fixes it, just like all of you. We are in the fight. And I can tell you, I am now in the fight to save California. I started an organization called Golden Together, which is laying out a roadmap for how we reverse the ruin of America's worst-run state. And we don't need to convince anyone about that. There's a simple way of remembering it. You pick any issue. California is basically top of every list that you want to be the bottom of, and bottom of every list that you want to be the top of. We have the highest rate of poverty in the country. They gave us the highest unemployment, the lowest income growth, the highest taxes, the highest housing cost, the lowest home ownership, the worst business climate 10 years in a row. It has been a total failure on every front. And here's the truth about that. People have had enough. We are going to turn this around, because this far-left experiment has gone too far. And you may say, why should I care about that? Why should I care what goes on in California if you're not from California? There are two reasons. Here's the first. What happens in California doesn't stay in California. This far-left experiment, I sometimes think of it as the Wuhan lab of far-left extremism. They've been cooking up this virus, and they've sent it out. And it's not just California. The extremism on climate and race and gender, it all started in California. We need to beat it in California, and we will. But here's a more positive reason. Whether you're from California or not, as Americans, in a way, we are all Californians. Because California means to America what America means to the world. The very best of America. That's what California should be. That's what inspired me about California, the home of energy and innovation and opportunity and dynamism, the rebel spirit. That's the best of California. That's what we need to get back to. That is what I am fighting for today. And so finally, I just want to ask you, are we really going to stand by while America's most beautiful, biggest state is destroyed by these far-left extremists? Are we just going to stand by and let that happen? Are we going to let the Trump revolution, the turning point revolution, stop at the California border? No, 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 we are not going to let that happen. So I'm here to tell you, we won a great victory in 2024. We saved America. You saved America. In 2026, we're going to save California. So I need you to stand with me and fight for California. We will save California. We will make the California dream a reality for everyone and make this beautiful state that means so much to America truly golden together. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.